Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Marina Kalo, and today I'm chatting to Abrie Beeslaar from Beeslaar Wines. Abrie, a very warm welcome. What can you tell us about yourself?
Thank you, Marina. Good to be here. Well, I'm a winemaker now for the last 25 years. Really have a passion for wine and all things around wine. And I'm specializing on Pinotage. So just love to work with quality grapes, bush wines, older plants, good soils, and everything that it offers me. So,
tell me, where do the grapes come from that you use in making your wine?
Yeah, so the grapes it's a pocket of grapes. It's about 3 hectares of vineyards that I started working with in 2009. And before that, I've normally just worked with Pinotages grown on granite soils. And once I've started working with this vineyard, it just became evident that it's very different. And the reason for that was shale soils. And and that became quite obvious for me to make a different wine because of the different expression of the site. And ever since then, I've been making the Beeslaar Pinotage since 2012, which was the first vintage, from the specific site, bush wines grown on the shale soils, decomposed shales.
And what is your current production like? How many bottles do you make every year?
Yeah, Pinotage is bush wines vary quite a bit in production because of mainly the influence of the wind we have in our area. But it can be up to around 18,000 bottles. But currently, the current vintage is around 12,500 bottles. Okay,
and I'd like to just touch on Pinotage a little bit because I know you are such a fond lover of the variety. Why did you just choose Pinotage? Is there something about it specific?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I always say Pinotage chose me. I didn't choose Pinotage, and it's probably because over the years when you work with varietals, Pinotage was the one variety that always needed more attention than the other varietals. I always say Cabernet makes itself. Once the job is done in the vineyard, there's not much else you can add in the cellar, but Pinotage is very specific. It's a very different varietal than anything else we work with, and it's a variety that has its own personality. And to really capture that, you need to be involved with the grape all the way from how it's grown, when it's picked, how it's made. All of it's very specific to the variety, and I always feel that Pinotage, there's much more of a relationship with the winemaker than compared to other varietals.
And so you only make this one wine. Are you thinking of expanding into different wines, or maybe making a Pinotage rosé or something, or is this where you're going to hang your hook for now?
Yeah, there's always experimentation going on. At the end of the day, I think I really like the way Pinotage expresses itself around the Stellenbosch region, and there's always potential for something different, not in the sense of just making something different, but also showing different face of the varietal. So what's to come for the future? I'm still figuring that out. We made one batch of Chardonnay, which was actually quite well received. But that was at this point a once-off. We will see how that develops in the future. But the Pinotage, I think it's a variety that I really like to express, and because of the different sites and different expression they have from the different soils.
I certainly think we're seeing a lot more in terms of different styles of Pinotage, talking more about the parentage of the wines, Pinotages that are made more in either a Cinsault type style or a Pinot Noir style, and there's definitely a movement away, not necessarily from the big, bold Pinotages. Those will always have a wonderful home, but certainly more variety in terms of the style of Pinotage that is being made here in South Africa, which I personally find quite interesting. What style would you say is the Beeslaar Pinotage made in?
Yeah, it's a well-structured wine. I would say definitely not on the lighter side, more on the fuller bodied side, but in a very elegant way. I always find that quality wine, can and must have balance from the beginning. It doesn't need to be aggressive at the young age. So we try to make well-structured, balanced wines, but with a lot of character, a lot of length. But more on the serious side than the lighter side. I think Pinotage can express itself in a lot of different ways, but then it becomes almost more the influence of the winemaker than the influence of the site. So Pinotage today for me is firstly a quality red wine, and it's almost Pinotage secondly, which is the way we approach Pinotage. Let's look at what is quality factors, not only for Pinotage, but in red wine in general.
So, Abrie, tell me, what did you want to be when you were a little boy?
No, it's I've heard this a couple of times, but I also wanted to be a doctor, a medical doctor. I think your husband's a medical doctor. Yeah, and thankfully that didn't work out. I think all my doctor friends want to be winemakers today. So it's I wanted to, at school, and I come from a small town called Worcester, or not that small anymore, but you just know about 5 or 6 different career paths. You're not exposed to everything out there. So it was either engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. So in what always tickled me was biology, mathematics, the science side of it, and because of that I thought medicine might be a good option. And then I came to Stellenbosch, said, no, you're too stupid to do medicine, do something different, do BSc agriculture for a year, and after that you can change over to medicine. And within that year only I realized that there was a career path in winemaking, and that just ticked so much more boxes than medicine.
That's great. And to think you would have been a doctor, and this from the man who sits right next to me here, who was awarded the best winemaker in the world. It just goes to show how one's path can go into very unusual and unsuspecting ways. And I'm so glad that you are a winemaker, because I do love your wines. So tell me, here we can obviously buy the Beeslaar wine locally, but in international markets, where can we find that?
Yeah, we do about 14 different countries throughout the world, with the US, the UK, Norway is quite a big market for us, but we sell in Dubai, we sell in Germany, we sell in China, we sell as well covered, and you can find all of that on my website as well. But yeah, we don't try to sell too much wine in one specific place for different reasons, but it's always worked well that you spread the love as wide as possible.
I like spreading the love. And speaking of spreading the love, I know you've traveled the world extensively. Have you drunk any standout wines that just pop into your mind right now that you can mention? Anything special?
Yeah, I've got a big love for German Riesling. I've worked a couple of vintages there as well, which is always wines that we can't produce in South Africa. It's like proper Burgundy. I think today we're getting closer to that, but a standout for me is always a well-aged 10 or 20-year-old Riesling, either from the Mosel or the Rheingau. So yeah, that's always the wines that because it's something we can't create in South Africa, as they can't create a great Pinotage. That's always special for me when I travel.
It's always nice just sharing wines as well and experiences. I know this is for some a contentious point, but what is your take on wine critics, wine scoring, competitions? Do they have a place?
Yeah, I do believe they have a place, as long as it doesn't change your way and your view of how you make your wine and the direction you follow, because I think that's happened in the past, that wine critics shouldn't dictate the styles. Your site should dictate the style that you can make, but there's definitely a big space for them, and also just sharing with the rest of the world what they see, and because not everybody can travel or taste as much as they do. So for us, being a southern tip of Africa, I think it's quite important to have good relationships with wine critics, and that they come over and come taste the wines and give a positive result, and share the knowledge with the rest of the world. If you want to follow them, really, and try to make or change your wines according to their palates, I think that's a big mistake, because styles keep on changing the whole time, and you can't just follow behind the whole time. You must lead with what you have from your specific site, and make them interested in your wine because of the quality, not because of not follow them, rather lead.
Yeah, I think that is something that rings true for us as South Africans. We need to really embrace becoming leaders rather than being the followers that we have seemingly been for such a long time. And we're doing a lot of amazing stuff here, so we can definitely start to take that reign a little bit. You have a lovely wife, Jeanne. If you were to take her out for a romantic dinner to a restaurant somewhere, what wine would you order off the wine list?
My wife is quite specific on what she likes to drink. So Pinotage definitely is one of it, but she also likes a quality Chardonnay. So I think those are the two varietals that I need to look at when I order wine for us both to have with dinner. So and today I think when you look at Pinotage, of course South African, but there's also some exceptional Chardonnays being produced in this country, comparing with the best in the world, and so that would be my second.
So I'm going to be a little bit presumptuous here, and presume that you might have woken up once or twice in your life with a hangover. Do you perhaps have a hangover cure that you can share with us?
Yeah, it's now that you mention it, it's I think everybody needs a bit of a cure. But yeah, I think quality wine is probably the best cure. Drinking proper wine gives you the least amount of hangover, which is especially aged wine. I think quality aged wine almost have less of an effect. But nowadays, when I was younger, it didn't bother me much. But nowadays, I like to drink some like a rehydration product with, before you go to bed, just to get the fluids flowing again, because that's probably the biggest problem with alcohol in general. But I think with quality wine, if you drink quality wine, I have very little effect of that.
That's a very good tip. Thank you for that. What would you say a non-wine drinker misses out by not being able to taste your wine?
Yeah, I think wine in general it's not only the taste that's important. It also has an effect how it cleanses your palate while you are having a meal with wine. It actually washes away the saliva on your palate. So each bite of food you have tastes better because of the glass of wine you're having with it, just because your palate's open for the next experience. So wine has a practical role to play as well. So that's the one thing I think you're missing out on really experiencing your food that you're having to the best possible, in the best possible way. And then of course it also plays an important role in digestion, which I didn't study medicine, as you know, so I'm not going to expand on that. But and I think just the combination of, I always say when you have a good plate of food, it's really it can be really good, but when you add good company to that, that's the next experience. And when you add the right wine with that, it's all about experiences and what level of experience you can have. And wine plays an important role in that. I feel, the table isn't complete if you don't have a good bottle of wine on it as well.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. So we know that there are many winemakers who they play music to their wines, to their vines, or they talk to their vines or their barrels. Do you have a special connection like that to either your vineyards or your barrels or your bottles?
Well, not really. I'm not, I've got a love for quality music. It doesn't matter what it is or what genre it is. So I can enjoy, typical South African music if it's quality. I know what opera I like, not because I know who's playing it, but I know what I enjoy. So it's I've got a wide range of different music or genres that I listen to, and it really lifts your spirit. Of course, you need a bit of bit hard rock in the mornings just to wake up if you had a long or very long night of work, and that helps to keep the team positive. We play some music for the team in the cellar every now and then as well, and that, especially 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, that seems to keep the spirits going. But yeah, it's not like I'm just listen to South African music or boere music or saki or whatever you want to call it. I listen to a wide range of different music and enjoy quality music.
And other than music, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Well, I like the outdoors, so we go holiday out at the beach in December. So we dive a lot. We do crayfishing and fishing and all types of stuff in the sea, in the ocean, and then also just love the outdoors, spending time with the family, going camping, going hunting. Especially this time of year. And just enjoying what South Africa has to offer. I think it's a beautiful country, as you know, and you don't have to go far to experience a total different environment than what we have here in Stellenbosch.
Yeah, we are really lucky. We are spoilt with so many options of things to do that are just totally healthy and out in nature and very, very cool. So if you're not out in nature, are you into movies? Are there any standout movies, like all-time favorites that you really enjoy watching?
I'm not good on being asked this stuff on the spot. But I must say over the years I enjoyed the Quentin Tarantino movies. A little bit of a irony in the storyline. But Top Gun is out now. I haven't seen it. I've heard a lot of it, but that's the type of movies I can enjoy. Just quality movies, well made. Good actors as well.
You just want to be entertained. I think that's what you don't want to have to overthink it. You just want to go there, walk out, say I've had 2 good hours. And by the way, Top Gun Maverick is very good. Yes, go and see it at the IMAX. Do you support any sports teams? Any particular teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're in the middle of the rugby season, so the Storm has just finished top of the log, which is for us excellent rugby over the weekend. We're looking forward to the Springboks playing Wales next weekend, so it's a lot of rugby around, which I really enjoy. But I can on a Sunday afternoon I can watch golf, I can watch cricket, I can watch a lot of stuff. It's also that stuff you don't think about. You just stare at the TV. You get sports like that. But I support South African teams and wherever they are and what they do. But it might be cricket or rugby, which is the main sports I watch. But as soon as we do well when it's quality, again, when it's quality sports, it's always great to watch. My My son is much more into soccer. We didn't play much soccer when we were at schools, but he knows all the names of the teams, and I like to watch soccer with him as well. Look at the Premier League and stuff coming up. It's fun to watch, and getting into that because of him as well.
Yeah, and that's such a nice thing for a father and son to do together over a weekend. What would you say is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given? Or if you were to pass it on, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, I think my dad once told me, if you want to be successful, you just need to work harder than the guy next to you. And I think that type of advice, it's still very sound today, that and I think Ronaldo also mentioned earlier, recently, that talent doesn't mean anything without hard work. So if you prepare to work really hard and harder than the rest of the people, you'll be successful. And in our industry, the hours, I think I reached my 10,000 hours probably in the first 5 years of my career already, because we really grafted hard and long, and that really gave you a very good foundation and platform from where you can make decisions today. When I look at winemaking today, it's almost like that matrix, when they're all that little numbers so you don't know what you see, but you can see the bigger picture out of it. And winemaking today is for me, is like that. I can see all the different influences, all the factors playing a role, and to make, I don't know how you get to the decision, but you can make a proper decision because of the experience you've got over the hours that you've put in.
Yeah, I think also the information that we have from scientific research and learning from hundreds of years of winemaking, in fact thousands of years of winemaking, has put us in a position where really I think the quality of the wine we're drinking now compared to the wine that they had in the biblical times is quite vastly different. Which leads me to ask, do you think people will still be drinking wine in another 2,000 years' time? And what do you think that wine will look like?
I believe so. I think, when you look at how things develop and how it evolve, there's certain things that you will always have, like sports. There will always be people competing. You can't compete against a machine. There will always be people competing, like a good artist. Paintings and art will always be part of the future. And I think wine, that's certain, because it's so different, and there's such a lot of variances when it comes to wine. It's not something that you can duplicate, and because of that, I think wine will always have a space, and perhaps more so in the future. As land probably becomes less and less, it's just going to become more expensive, and perhaps more for the wealthy, where the normal drink for the common person will probably be something fabricated. But quality wine, I believe, is like fine art. There will always be space for that in the future.
I certainly hope you're right. Tell me, if you had to be stuck on a deserted island, which 3 wines would you want to have with you? Any 3 wines?
Well, it's... I think I would probably definitely have a Riesling. A desert island probably is going to be quite hot with a lot of a refrigerator just to keep it chilled. Then I would, something like from Joja Prum would be probably on my list. I would have, I would definitely have, only 3.
Sorry.
So there must be a Pinotage on there. So that must be part of it. And then, I love proper Burgundy, and also I like Bordeaux. So very different expressions. So Pinotage probably will cover, aged Pinotage will probably cover partly a bit of the Burgundian side. So I'll go for Pichon Comtesse de la Lande would be my it may be my third wine. Yeah.
Very, very nice. Hopefully I can be stuck with you on that island as well. Is there a winemaking area in the world that you would like to explore still?
Yes, I haven't had the opportunity to cover Italy. So, in other parts of the world, always you especially countries that they don't speak English, it's much more difficult to experience in the right way. But Italy, I haven't had the opportunity to explore and understand, and as much as I've had other countries. So that's I would love to go there for a couple of months. I think experience the food and the wine. I love the culture that they have there.
Be prepared to come back and start a very strict diet after 2 months. Okay, we're almost done, but before we finish up, I'd like to play a little game with you. I'm going to name 3 varieties, and I'd like you to pair each variety with a song or a music artist or a genre that you think will represent it. Okay. So I'm going to start with the easy one, Pinotage.
I would say Coldplay.
Okay. Any particular songs or?
Well, not that I can think of. I just like the different expressions that have from much more lighter to really intense, and So I think it covers quite a range of expressions, and as does the variety.
Yeah, and they've certainly got a very distinct sound. You'll know when that's Coldplay playing, that's for sure. Okay, let's go with Malbec.
Malbec. Well, immediately think Argentinian, but I don't know any Argentinian artists. I would say a little bit for me, when I think of Malbec, I always think of a little bit more outspoken, but not a lot of depth. That's my perception of Malbec. So when I think of artists like that, Lady Gaga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga can work. Yeah. Goes well with meat, and there was that meat dress. There we go. Let's bring that link in. Okay. Last one. Cabernet Franc.
Oh, that's. I think it's a much more deeper. I like Cabernet Franc a lot. I think it's a great variety. I can't think of the name of the band I want to name it after. I would say Annie Lennox. Yeah, for Cabernet Franc. I like the almost more of a. It's a silkiness. There's a very, a soft, not a soft way to. Yeah, it's like the. It's like the iron fist in the silk glove type of expression for me.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Annie, Eurythmics and that kind of vibe. Very cool. I love that. Abrie, thank you so much for chatting to us. Before we finish off, please will you share with our listeners where they can look you up online, engage on social media platforms, and where they can get your wines from?
Yeah, so we have a website, Beeslaar wine.co.za, I think. I'm not very good with the social media stuff. Or Beeslaar Wines on Instagram. And they can order directly from our website. There's a link that they can order from. And and also if it's if they just want to send a mail wherever they are in the world, they can send us to info@beeslaar.co.za.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming through to see me today, and for sharing a little bit more about yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website winesoundtrack.com.